53106, the text number if you want to get in touch, particularly if you are a Manchester United supporter and you were watching and have thoughts on last night's performance against Sheffield United as they were beaten by 2-1. Their long unbeaten streak coming to an end. To chat about that, I'm joined by Andy Mitten of United Will Stand. Good evening, Andy.
Good evening.
What went wrong?
What went right? Unless you're a Sheffield United fan. It was an awful night for Manchester United, playing against a team right at the bottom, a team who'd scored twice against Manchester United at Bramall Lane in December. So it showed that Manchester United can be a bit vulnerable against Sheffield United. And they didn't play well. They couldn't break them down. They had a game plan, defended very deeply. And it came off, and the 2 goals were both poor, which the home team conceded. And these results happen in football in a silly way. It's probably why we love football, that you know it's not going to be Bayern Munich just winning the league every single year, or Paris Saint-Germain like it is in France, that you get these results tripping up. And I think Manchester United fans have taken quite a bit of joy in recent weeks watching other rivals trip up. West Brom go to Anfield and get a late equaliser. Burnley win at Anfield. Okay, it's not been happening so much to Manchester City. They look pretty ominous at the moment, but lots of the rivals have dropped points. Manchester United have had a better run than all of them, and that's meant that Solskjaer's team has gone to the top of the table. But it was a shocking result. Now, if it's in isolation, okay, football teams lose matches, even the best teams, even the treble winners, all of them. They've lost lots of matches. Manchester United just need to get over it quickly. There's a difficult games. Arsenal away at the weekend. Before that Sheffield United result, Arsenal were actually the last team to defeat Solskjaer's side. They won at Old Trafford at the end of September. So it's been a really good run. And the team is still in a very good position. And fans were still on a high after knocking Liverpool out of the FA Cup on Sunday. But that was a really bad result.
John Giles was on earlier and he felt it was an attitude issue last night, that for great teams, relentless teams, that they look at the Liverpool game almost as the easy game because you know you're up for that one. It's Liverpool, an FA Cup game. You're easily motivated for that. But actually, it's harder then for Sheffield United to get yourself up, and that's what title-winning teams generally have. They have that within them, that they realise we got to be as motivated, if not more motivated, for Sheffield United than we were for Liverpool, as sort of counterintuitive as that may seem.
John there and the biggest teams, he knows what he's talking about. The motivation for Manchester United's players comes from a huge amount of competition, that if you're not going to perform, then you're going to lose your place in the squad. I'm told that they're all training well. Results have been good, and they have been digging out late wins. They have kept going to the end. Against Aston Villa at home, we were a good team. Against Wolves at home, they keep coming back after going behind in matches, especially away from home. So I think you can draw some positives from that. Clearly, fans wouldn't like to see them going behind all of the time, but they've been getting those narrow wins. But the point that this isn't a vintage Manchester United side, I think that's a fair one. It's not won any trophies yet to be worthy of accolades. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has always played down this progress of his team. He said that the league table only matters at the end of the season, that his team is still a work in progress. He's consistently said that he needs 2 or 3 more players to make it a team capable of challenging for the title. The gap between United and City and Liverpool in the last 2 years was 31 and 32 points. So at the moment, the team look like they're on target for late 70s, maybe even 80 points, which is a big improvement on 66 points last year. A cup win would be a major boost. FA Cup, the Europa League. And I think that's where Manchester United are at the moment. I don't expect the team to win the league. I've not heard any fans say that they expect the team to win the league. I've seen a couple of Liverpool fans joking, saying, look at Man United fans getting carried away because they've won the league in January. Well, I've not seen one do that. There's just not that feeling that the team is on a run that's going to see them become champions. And getting to the top of the league surprised fans. It really did.
Yeah.
And I think Liverpool's form has surprised a lot of fans as well. But Solskjaer's doing a good job. There's definitely been improvements, but the team's conceded far too many goals. There's poor players in key positions. Anthony Martial is not playing well. You can't pretend otherwise. Marcus Rashford scored a lot more goals than Martial, but he has games where he isn't producing with the consistency of the truly great players. And if you're going to win the Premier League, you've got to aspire to greatness throughout the team, because you're up against some of the best teams, players, managers in the world. So being good isn't good enough.
It's been a heck of a start to the second half at Tottenham. Liverpool scored 90 seconds into the second half to go 2-0 up. Trent Alexander-Arnold with the goal. It was a shot from over on the left-hand side from Sadio Mane that Hugo Lloris saved, and it looks quite slippy, but he just pushed the ball out to Alexander-Arnold, who volleyed it in from close range. So Liverpool 2-0 up, but Spurs went straight up the other end, and Pierre-Emile Højbjerg has smashed in a cracker from 25 yards out, outside of the right boot, and flew past Alisson. So Spurs 1, Liverpool 2 with 5 minutes gone in the second half. It is a top quality game at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. We're talking to Andy Mitten at the moment about Manchester United last night. You mentioned Anthony Martial there, and he is one of those players whose demeanour doesn't help him when you're in this sort of form. So goals aren't happening from... There was a real expectation after last season when he got to 17 Premier League goals that he'd arrived and he was really going to kick on now, that he was going to get a level of consistency that United could rely on. And when you are that sort of slightly sullen character from the outside, suddenly it almost looks as though your attitude is off. I'm just wondering from what you know from around United as to actually what sort of character he is and what the impression of Martial is within the club.
He doesn't speak much English. His close friends is Paul Pogba, and Pogba has had his major ups and downs, probably more than any player, but he's had a good month. I know he didn't play well last night, but he's been one of the form players, been scoring important match-winning goals, but I can't pretend that Martial's been doing well. He's not scoring enough goals. His body language, as you say, doesn't instill confidence in supporters. There's definitely a talent there, but you get these same conversations going round about him all the time. He can be spectacular, but if you're going to play up front for a team at the top of the Premier League, you've got to be scoring more goals. And last season he did do, and if he could have pushed on and at least replicated that, then fans would be fine with it. As it happens, he's becoming a bit of a scapegoat because he has been disappointing. He's fit. He's not had to go over COVID like Paul Pogba did. And it makes you wonder, if these players were doing well, Manchester United would be genuine title contenders. And when you're telling me about Liverpool and Tottenham now, I'm listening with interest, because for the first time in 8 years, United are in a proper title race. And it's exciting. And you want your rivals to lose matches. And you put TV on and see that, oh, there's 60 minutes gone and Aston Villa are holding Manchester City. Oh, this is good. Come on, come on. And your wife says, why? Who are these? What's this team? What's this Aston Villa? What that about? And it's a good thing. Football should be like this. It should be entertaining with this title race. And it is. But Martial is one of the players who could be doing more to make Manchester United even better than they have been. He scored a hat-trick the last time Sheffield United came to Old Trafford. It was one of his best games. It was a very good performance just after lockdown. And I tweeted before the game last night, he needs something similar. He needs a big performance, and didn't come close to that. He was the worst Manchester United player. I don't doubt that he'll come good again. He's got the confidence of his manager, but you're not playing well, you're not worth your place in the side. And he's got Edinson Cavani there who came on, and he's had a good month. Pretty slow start to his United career because of COVID, because of injuries, had his ban as well, but he's a top player. And I know that on the training ground, he's one that everyone looks up to. He also doesn't speak English, but just his professionalism, his mannerisms, his dedication. When I asked Ole Gunnar Solskjaer about him the other day, about what he brings to the team, he just replied, "How long have you got?"
Right.
And I said, "Well, I've got an hour." Clearly, he was joking, and I was as well. But He loves him. He's made a very, very good impression. He's not been prolific. United have not got a prolific goal scorer. Bruno Fernandes is a top goal scorer.
Yeah.
But the team has scored, I think, the second highest number of goals in the league. It's not a major, major concern in general. But they're not destroying sides. They're not winning by more than 2 goals. They've only done that 3 times, I think, this season. And at the other end, I think United have conceded more goals than any team in the top 12. I think you have to go down to Leeds United to see a team who's conceded more. So you've got all these niggles and areas for improvement, and that's why Manchester United are looking at a central defender or are looking for a right-sided attacker. And some may come, some may not come. There's still players there who should have been moved on. United have got central defenders like Phil Jones, Marcus Rojo. They're just not playing. But it's difficult to move players on when they earn so much money, especially now with the economics of football during the pandemic.
Yeah, where maybe some of those options that would have always been there in Spain aren't really there for this coming summer. Just to go back to Edinson Cavani, I see he's on the cover of the latest United Will Stand, and it probably adds to the pressure on Anthony Martial that he has Cavani breathing down his neck, and because he's the new shiny player that the supporters want to see more of him. And with Tim Vickery on waxing lyrical about him earlier in the week, saying that he was the world's first box-to-box striker. He's going to be 34 in a couple of months' time. He hasn't scored a huge amount of goals, but he hasn't played a huge amount of football for Manchester United. What is the plan from between now and the end of the season? Is he a genuine rival for Martial, or is minutes having to be managed? And is he going to be there again next season?
Well, I'm glad that Martial's under pressure. That's how it should be, because there's been times where you have players at United not under sufficient pressure. So when you see Luke Shaw playing really well now, it's because he knows that he'll lose his place in the team because Alex Telles can come in. Luke Shaw's been one of Manchester United's best players this season. I spoke to a lot of people about Cavani when he signed, people who know far more than I do. I spoke in detail to Diego Forlan about him, and he knows me well enough to say to me off the record what's going on, and he just said, "Trust me." Yeah, and they're not close friends. I mean, they played many times together for Uruguay, but they're not best mates. He said he is fantastic. He will deliver. He will do well. He'll be like Zlatan Ibrahimovic was. And then I went to Lyon a couple of months ago, and I interviewed Lyon's manager, Rudy Garcia. And again, he's a man who knows. He's had to plot against Cavani when he's playing for PSG, and he just said, "I can't understand why they sold him." So, of course, I was glad to hear that, because he wasn't someone with a nod and a wink saying he's finished. This was someone saying he's still got it. And we're seeing that. His start's been slow and truncated, but I'm told his fitness is absolutely fine. Technically, he's not the best striker in the world, but he does everything else. And he runs and runs, and he sees things which other players do not see. He adds another dimension to the team, and I would see no reason why he couldn't play all the time. He could become the breakout star, if you like, of the season. Maybe that term is a bit incongruous, talking about someone who is 34 next month, but he is the shiny new player, and he's bringing something to the team, leading by example on and off the pitch. And even when he gave the ball away against Liverpool on Sunday, he was first back to retrieve it. But he had a really good game against Liverpool, even though he didn't score. So that's why we've put him on the cover. The strapline, "Give it, give it, give it," it's a bit of a joke, because one of the lads who makes daft songs up about Manchester United players decided to take the ABBA song, and he reckons he's going to start singing "Give it, give it, give it to Edinson Cavani." And it's a bit tongue-in-cheek, but knowing what the lad's like, I definitely wouldn't put it past him.
If only they could get the chance.
Colourful character. If only you can get the chance, and I hope that he does stay, and he does have the privilege of playing in front of fans at Old Trafford. And more than that, I hope that fans can get back inside Old Trafford as soon as possible.
Yeah, I thought it was more of a give it, give it, give it that you hear going around the stadium when Cavani's maybe making those runs that players aren't picking out. It is such a shame when the way you're talking about Manchester United again, that supporters aren't in the stadium, to see what the dynamic would have been like over the last few weeks as we're making that move. Because the way you're talking about United, it reminds me of Liverpool maybe 3 years ago and their supporters at Anfield. and the lack of trust they had in the defence before Virgil van Dijk arrived, that a sense that something was always going to go wrong, that no matter, even if they went 4 or 5 games with Dejan Lovren doing just fine, there was always this lack of trust that the stadium couldn't hide when they were under a little bit of pressure. And Old Trafford probably would have been something similar right now, as well as De Gea and Harry Maguire have done for 3-4 weeks without a mistake. It's just always there, that doubt.
Yeah, it's a good point. And I remember Liverpool's rise, and I remember sneering like many other people when they signed Van Dijk, thinking this is a ridiculous amount to pay for a Southampton defender. And I was completely wrong. And within months, Liverpool fans who are friends of mine were just saying he has been transformative, and he's the best defender in the world. And it shows how much Liverpool miss him. I think looking at their results, and I know they've got other injuries as well, when you lose your best defender. So do you say, is Harry Maguire and Victor Lindelof, are they Ferdinand and Vidic? They're not at that level. So it's the small margins again. The best defender on the pitch when Manchester City visited a few weeks ago was Ruben Dias for Manchester City. The best midfielder was Fernandinho for Manchester City. It's tough at the top. So Ollie's talking all the time about the small margins. He wants to bring the players in. He's got to be back to get those players. Again, it's difficult because of the economics, but there are other clubs in far worse situations than Manchester United. I don't think you'll see Borussia Dortmund trying to hold out for 120 million for Jadon Sancho this summer. I don't think they'll. And it's all right me saying I don't think. I've actually spoke to people today, agents who deal in the current market, and I'm forming my opinion from what they're telling me. So there's been improvements, but the team aren't ready to be champions yet. Part of me sometimes, well, you never know. It's a strange season. Anything can happen here. Liverpool keep losing, but Manchester City worry me. I have to be honest. They've got the experience of winning. The one thing that they do tend to do is implode around the time they get knocked out of the Champions League. And I was in Lisbon when Lyon beat them. It was one of the best games of football I saw last year. Lyon blew me away with their young team, and obviously I congratulated their manager when I met him in person a few months later. But Guardiola's a top coach. City have got players who've won the league, and they're clearly favourites.
Just before we finish up, still Liverpool 2, Tottenham 1, by the way. Liverpool had the ball in the back of the net, a sensational counter-attacking goal. Mo Salah finished it off. But again, VAR intervened, brought it all the way back to the halfway line when Roberto Firmino was scrapping away with Eric Dyer, and the ball popped off the hand of Roberto Firmino. It was a handball. Referee was right there, didn't spot it at the time, allowed play to continue. So the goal was scrapped, and 61 minutes gone, still Spurs 1, Liverpool 2. Just to touch on the unsavoury side of football once again, and what happened after the game last night online. Manchester United came out with a statement, said they were disgusted by what they described as the mindless idiots who directed racial abuse at Anthony Martial and Axel Tuanzebe on social media after the defeat to Sheffield United. Both players targets of racist comments, of monkey emojis. United condemned the abuse, and they urged social media platforms to do more to prevent this kind of behaviour. The problem here now at this stage, Andy, is that it's not in any way surprising, and that for all the campaigns that are ongoing, for the players taking the knee before every match still in the Premier League, the online racist abuse just seems to be becoming more and more common and routine after every single Premier League match, whenever anybody makes any sort of a mistake.
Yeah. Anonymous online racist abuse of platforms who monetize. I don't think they want racism on there, but base emotions like anger, because they know they'll get a reaction. And those platforms, who are becoming some of the biggest companies in the world, need to do more. Nobody should suffer racism. End of. And Axel Tuanzebe, he's a great lad. His life story, and I tweeted this today, he left the Democratic Republic of Congo aged 4. His family didn't know whether to move to Paris or Rochdale. So obviously they chose Rochdale. And he was on an estate in Rochdale, and I spoke to him about it, and he said it was a great place to grow up. And he learned English. He worked hard at school. I spoke to his former head teacher only last week. got excellent grades at school, captain Manchester United at every age group, right up until the first team. And his life's been a success. He's an inspiration. He don't deserve that. I think the vast majority acknowledge and appreciate what he's done and what he's doing. It doesn't matter whether he has a poor game or whether his future's at Manchester United. He may turn out to be a great defender. He may end up at Sheffield Wednesday. That's not been decided yet, but he's played Premier League football and he's done well, more so for Aston Villa. But when you see that reaction, and as you say, it's happening more and more. When I'm at the games in normal times, I'm pleased that you hear almost no racist comments. And I used to. In the 1980s, you would hear some pernicious abuse from the Stretford end. And I'm glad that that has changed, and that when you look around the crowd at Old Trafford, you see people from all countries, different creed and colour. It's not even an issue. I've organised coaches to away matches and been responsible for huge numbers of Manchester United fans. Don't even bother me if the person is black or come over from China or from Norway or a Pakistani who lives in Manchester. It's just not an issue. And Manchester's an immigrant cosmopolitan city, and it's been an immigrant city since the Flemish weavers came over. It's got a huge Irish population. But on social media now, you're seeing this all the time. And it's done anonymously. It's very hard, as United said in their statement, to track the perpetrators down. They can have multiple accounts. They're probably enjoying the attention that they do get. And sometimes when these people are brought down and their real identity is exposed, sadly, it's often kids. But none of that makes it acceptable that players' wives are getting disgusting racist abuse in their Instagram accounts, and it's going on and on. I don't know what the answer is. I know how I educate my children and my friends, and I know what wouldn't be accepted at Manchester United games. If someone made a racist comment, they'd be dealt with. The fan base would police itself. Shrugging my shoulders. I'm not the one who's suffering from it, but it is